I just want to bang my head on the wall till I'm dead. I think we need some time apart. Okay, Mr. Gaslighter, I don't need you to tell me what's small or big. Those are some of the messages between Mackenzie Shirilla and Dominic Russo, the young man, her on-again, off-again boyfriend that she murdered alongside their friend when she drove a car into a wall at 100 miles per hour. We're going to read you some of the more revealing messages involving Dom and Shirilla because understanding what was going on with the couple can help us maybe understand what on earth happened. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, before we jump into this, I got to tell you about this sponsor, this partner of ours, because they have this app that I think you're going to love. It is called Upside. Upside gets you cash back, extra cash back on everyday purchases like gas, groceries, takeout. So here's what you do. You download Upside for free. You claim an offer at one of their 100,000 plus locations. You pay like normal with your card. You verify the purchase, and just like that, money back. So say I need to get gas or I want takeout one night, I'll search for Upside offers first, and after I spend, money appears in my app that I can transfer right into my bank account. And Upside's frequent users, they earn an average of $254 back a year. So to start getting your cash back, click the link in the description or scan the QR code. Make sure to use promo code SIDEBAR because you'll get an extra 25 cents bonus on every gallon on your first tank of gas. We're turning now to something that we haven't yet tackled on our coverage of the Mackenzie Shirilla case. The text messages between Dominic Russo and this convicted murderer. And I'm going to read you a bunch of these communications, and it's important. It's important because understanding that dynamic, understanding this relationship is key to trying to make sense of what happened here, to trying to make sense of Shirilla's arguments that she didn't do this on purpose. And I want to put this into context with what I'm talking about because Mackenzie Shirilla was found guilty by a judge in a bench trial, meaning that a judge decided her guilt or not guilty. She was found guilty by a judge in a bench trial of 4 counts of murder, 4 counts of felonious assault, 2 counts of aggravated vehicular homicide, 1 count of drug possession, and 1 count of possessing criminal tools, all in connection with the July 31st, 2022 car crash that killed her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and their friend, Davion Flanagan. The 17-year-old mashed down the accelerator, never tried to brake, this is according to investigative reports, sailing over a curb, through a business sign, and into a brick wall. And Shirilla has insisted ever since that she had no memory whatsoever of the crash or even the time, the minutes leading up to it. She and her family have suggested that she has a diagnosis of POTS, this medical condition that can cause dizziness, fainting. They claim Shirilla must have blacked out, which is why she drove off the road. I will be clear about this at trial. There was no official medical diagnosis of POTS. It wasn't presented. There was no evidence of a car malfunction. There was no presentation of her being severely intoxicated. And after her 2023 trial, she was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole starting in 2037. But now she's back in the news a lot, because of the Netflix documentary, The Crash, where she goes on camera, she does this interview from behind bars, and she says she's not a monster, that there was no intent, that she loved Dom. But there is evidence of her driving recklessly in the past. There was an account, a narrative that she would get into fights while driving. There was evidence that she didn't seem remorseful after what she did. So prosecutors essentially made the argument that she intentionally crashed the car, especially considering there was evidence that Dom was trying to break up with her just weeks before. But there were also messages from Shirilla to Dom where she claimed she was the victim of Dom. For example, there were messages from Shirilla to one of Dom's family members in the past, and I'm going to read you some of them, and then we'll get to the communications between Dom and Shirilla. But for example, there's this one where Mackenzie writes this family member, quote, "Can you come get Dom? He just grabbed my steering wheel on the highway trying to spin out my car and hurt me. TBH, I can't calm down when he just tried to end my life. He tried to end my life today and told me, do you want to die?" So I want to get into these messages between Dominic Russo and Mackenzie Shirilla pre-crash, okay? And this is from years before too, and relatively shortly before this event took place, and what these messages might tell us. There was a Celebrite cell phone extraction compiled by investigators that revealed all of these text messages between the couple going back years, all the way back to January 2020. Thousands upon thousands of messages between the couple, who again appeared to have this very toxic on-again, off-again relationship. And I do want to highlight just some part of the conversations that the pair had. We can't go through everything, but you can check out, by the way, if you're interested in looking at the full conversations, all the texts. I think there's nearly 32,000 pages of them. Right now, all of that is available on the Law&Crime Plus app. We have a Mackenzie Shirilla case file. You can check it all there if you're interested. But right now, I want to highlight some of the text messages. And by the way, these are just text messages, even though the couple seem to have also communicated on social media apps like Instagram and Snapchat. And by the way, I should tell you, these messages were entered into evidence during her actual trial. Reportedly, over 93,000 text messages were entered into evidence. Welcome to the digital age. Welcome to a young relationship, right? So Shirilla's text messages, they show up as green. Dom's are in blue. We're going to put them up there as I go through them. And toward the top of the file in January of 2020, Shirilla sends these messages. And it already starts to give you an idea of the dynamic of the relationship at the time. Quote, "No? Why aren't you saying, 'Oh, you look so good, Kenzie'? Why are you being like that?" Quote, "Don't drag me down, hype me up." Now, a lot of the couple's texts during this time period, they center around Shirilla seemingly wanting to spend all of her time, all of her free time with Dom. And she seemingly texts him over and over about when they can hang out, when she could come to his house, when they could go to get food. But in these exchanges, Dom, I think an argument could be made, seems to be wanting a little more space. And that is what led to conflict. That is what leads to a blowout. For example, this is from January 14th, 2020. Quote, "Let me come in, sad face." Quote, "No, from now on, you just got to go home after school, my B." Another one, "And probably can't come before school." Shirilla replies in all caps, "What? You can do this to me." Then corrects herself, "Can't, you can't." Dom replies, "If I asked you to go home, you would have threw a fit anyway." Then there's a series of messages in all caps from Shirilla. "You're mean. You treat me like S. And I treat you like a bleeping god. And you do this." Dom goes on to say that it feels like she's smothering him, to which Shirilla responds, "I just want to bang my head on the wall till I'm dead." Dom replies, "To be honest, this S has happened so many times, I just don't care anymore." And despite, by the way, still being in high school, Shirilla does eventually move in with Dom in a home that his mother owns next to her own. And during a conversation at the end of January, it seems that Dom and Shirilla are both at his house, but possibly, in different rooms texting each other, because Shirilla begs him to give her, quote, dabs, which by all accounts seems to be a concentrated form of cannabis. Quote, "I swear if you don't leave, I'm a flip S. I'm leaving, I just need dabs, babe." And the response in all caps, "I don't have any." Now, something this compilation of conversations reveals is just how on again, off again the two were over the years. They would break up constantly, then they would get back together just as quickly. And remember, both are very young. They're teens when they met. Shirilla was 17, had just graduated high school when the crash happened. And on the other hand, it's understandable why emotions would be running high, but at times, it just appears from the messages alone, and I don't, have personal knowledge of their relationship, but just looking at the messages, and sometimes messages can be quite revealing, it seems like things were out of control at points. I mentioned the conversations before where Shirilla is messaging a family member, but look at this. For example, here's a conversation between the pair from March 2020. Dom says, "I don't like dealing with all this, babe." Shirilla responds, "All I ask is for like 3 things. No girls, hang with me, and affection. None of them are hard to do. If you can drive around all day on random slurs time, then you can find a way to see me. You do so many harder things in your life." Dom replies, "I think we need some time apart." And then she appears to go off on a rant saying, "Dom, stop right now. Answer the phone. We not doing that again. We not going on a break. Text back like you're not going to do this to me. Get off. Do not disturb. We are not going on a bleeping break, Dom. I do so much for you, and you say that." Now, the very next day, Shirilla sends another long string of messages. Hey babe, what you doing now? Dom? Answer, Dom. Wow, I'm mad. Answer right now. I'm so mad. Dom sends this response, low battery. So now I want to jump ahead in time a little bit. Summer 2021. So about a year before Shirilla drove her car into the side of that brick building, killing her boyfriend, killing their friend, Mr. Flanagan. Shirilla and Dom are in the middle of another fight in these messages where Shirilla says, like, I'm seriously done. I do not want to see you. If you're done over that small inconvenience, then okay, fine, so be it. Okay, Mr. Gaslighter, I don't need you to tell me what's small or big. She continues, you can figure out your own way to the graduation party tonight. Like, I'm seriously done. Why are you done? Because I didn't give you free weed? And this is another example of Dom apparently being, Shirilla's connection to get marijuana. She, by the way, had cannabis in her system or THC in her system at the time of the crash. And she would often, post videos and photos online of herself appearing to smoke weed, use bongs. There was even an allegation that she was doing it while driving. Now, later in that same conversation, Shirilla writes, why would I want to go on vacation with someone that can't even give me 1 gram free weed? I want to fast forward. This time I want to go to January of 2022. So by this point, at least in our opinion, the dynamic between Mackenzie Shirilla and Dominic Russo seems to have changed, because I think there could be an argument that at this point, Mackenzie Shirilla seems very aggressive, dismissive, and I think you can make the argument mean. I'm going to give you an example. Shirilla writes, Dom, I would start texting right now, unless you want problems. Because you're acting weird as F, I would start typing. Dom responds, I'm not. She writes, like right now. He says, you're also acting heated as F. But Shirilla steamrolls ahead. I would start explaining right now. I ain't going to try to talk to you when you're mad, because you're not telling me after I asked 780 times. You have 5 minutes. And there are multiple times during this argument or their arguments that Shirilla says she's setting a timer on her phone to some arbitrary number, and if Dom doesn't respond or hasn't done what she wanted by the time it went off, they were done. And there are also times that Dom brings up Shirilla's social media presence, because she posted on Instagram and TikTok quite frequently, often in these seductive outfits and these poses. The two had this conversation in January of 2022. Quote, like, I just want to understand why you post like that. Like, I know, look cute, but I feel like you can still look cute without posting as provocative. Like, I for real want to understand. Every other dude would be coming at you aggressive as F2. For real, I'm being cool, and you're being immature by just hanging up on me. Later on in the conversation, Mackenzie Shirilla wrote, if you can't handle the bad B, then bleep and leave. I don't care. Like, what the bleep? Don't try to make me insecure because you are. She also said at one point, you were doing so good this morning too. Like, what the bleep? And this is important too. There are instances where the two talk about Shirilla allegedly driving drunk, because you have one back and forth. She says she's scared. Quote, I'm driving home to you. Dom says, oh, you drunk? Why you scared? She responds, in the hood, and I'm a little drunk. This is his advice. Drive patient, but get to where you need to go, and you'll be fine. Don't look at no one, and don't draw attention. No one is going to do anything. Pretty scary to think about a teenage driver with little experience driving while drunk and also texting. I want to talk about this. July 2022. So by the end of the month, Dom would be dead. Davion would be dead. Shirilla would be in the hospital. And she would have serious injuries, claiming she couldn't remember anything about the crash or what happened beforehand. Again, the insistence that she must have blacked out. So here's a long string of messages from Mackenzie Shirilla from July 2nd. Again, this is just weeks before what happened. Quote, you're a liar and will always be one, smiley face. Can't keep a single promise you make. You don't take relationships seriously. You think this is some game. You're messing your life up and you're going to be real embarrassed when you see. So yes, I will be back tonight. I'm the only one keeping this relationship together. If you want any chance of this relationship working, you will start giving effort and well thought out responses fast. Dom responds, Kenzie, I'm not arguing with you. It's a waste of life. A few minutes later, she sends him a photo, although it's kind of hard to tell what it's a picture of. He voices his frustration that she seems to want to end things, but then starts talking to him again like things are normal. And during that same conversation, just 4 weeks before Dom's death, he wrote these chilling words: "There isn't very much time on earth." In fact, this is the message I want to focus on, okay? The breakup communication. Kenzie, you know I love you, but I don't think we should be together at this point. There isn't very much time on earth, you know? I'd like to think we could stop fighting, but it's a breakup fight every week. Neither of us deserve that. I don't want to fight all the time. I know you don't either. Anyone who's around anyone every day of the week is bound to fight. If we can't separate for a little, then we're only going to fight more. I don't want you to think I'm abandoning you. I wish it could work, but I don't think it's going to at this point, especially with the threats. We should just break up so we can both find happiness somewhere else. And that text was apparently followed up by another just a few hours later asking Shirilla if she wants to try to work things out. And what was it, just 2 weeks later, there was another important incident that happens. According to witnesses, Dom was on the phone with Mackenzie when Mackenzie threatened to crash the car they were in. According to Shirilla, Dom was the one who grabbed the steering wheel and said that he would cause a wreck. They fought over what happened in a follow-up text conversation. And it's really shocking given what we know happens just several days later. Quote, "If you can't see what's broken and what needs to be fixed, then there's no point of this being a relationship. Yesterday, you almost ended my life, or could have ended my life, and all your mom cared about was you not going to jail. Like, I'm literally never going to talk to your mom again unless she apologizes." By the way, we did a whole Sidebar episode on this after the death of Dom and Davion. Mackenzie writes Dom's mom a lot. There is a lot of communication back and forth. You can check out that Sidebar episode up on our YouTube page. But again, responding to this conversation, Dom says, "I didn't try to do anything." To which she responds, "One more reply that is not trying to fix this, I'm blocking you. Give me one more bleeping reply that doesn't reply to anything and see what happens. I'm just saying I didn't try to kill us. I was not trying to do that." And they go around in circles for a while with Shirilla saying, "If you're incapable of fixing anything that you caused yesterday and you can't apologize, I know what you did wrong and how to prevent this ever happening again, then I'm not going to be with you. I'm not going to be with an abuser." And Dom says, "I did apologize." He reiterates, "I wasn't trying to end anyone's life. You should believe that." Shirilla says, "Why would I believe it when you did it? How can I believe that you're never going to do that again? I can't, because I don't know your limit. Somebody who loves me would never do that. Never. I couldn't even do it if you told me to. But I guess that's different for you." Dom later says, "You can pull out a knife, say you're going to stab me. I'd stay with you." But Shirilla replies, "I'm not going to keep wasting my time with somebody who thinks my life is disposable. I never thought you would ever do something like that to me. I thought you would always protect me, but we learn new things about each other every day." Dom responds, "I would never try to kill you, LOL." And the final text messages in the report are from Shirilla to Dom on July 30th around 1:30 a.m., telling him to turn something down or off because it was, quote, "annoying and loud." So in the end, look, this is just interesting perspective, a sad perspective on what was maybe going on behind the scenes that may have caused, may have contributed in some way to Mackenzie Shirilla's decision to deliberately crash that car. And remember, you can check out all of the text messages for yourself on the Law&Crime Plus app. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can also check us out on NBC's Peacock as well. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you next time, everybody.